Welcome to Learning Unit number 2. And to start, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that for a fully online class, there's different ways to meet the objectives. And we have objectives, as you can see, every single week. I have described what your objectives are. So by the end of this learning module, one of your objectives is to evaluate the condition of obesity from both the perspective of a disease and the perspective of an illness. So there's different ways to accomplish learning outcomes or objectives. And the way I go about doing this is less lecturing. I don't want to lecture, but I very carefully put together information for you and make it very clear what information you need to read, what videos you need to watch, etc. And I explain all of those things every single week. But it may be a different way of learning for some of you, so I just wanted to make that clear. And the second thing is I wanted to apologize for the Institute for Healthcare Improvement changes that were made the first day of class, truly. And what happened is the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, all BSN students need to complete at Mercyhurst University, need to complete the basic certificate, which is 13 IHI modules. Now we had a few extra modules that were appropriate per class or per course, and only now with 2024, IHI has changed it so that the free student access is limited to just those 13 modules. So while there was a really great module on mindfulness, that's no longer available for free. So my apologies for the stumble right at the beginning on the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. But again, that will be for free, and we won't be doing a module until learning unit number 9. So let's move along. And so I'll let you read what the learning outcomes are. So by the end of this learning module, what you're expected to be able to do. And let's look at how you're going to meet those learning outcomes. So you're watching this presentation where I'm going over everything with you. And a key aspect of the learning assignments this week is to read the introduction. Oftentimes we skip over introductions, but this introduction is really informative. So both introduction and chapter 1 of our textbook, The Mindful Nurse. Then you're going to take a quiz. Now the quiz is quiz number 2, and it is going to test your knowledge about only the information in the introduction and chapter 1 of the text. It's not going to test your knowledge about other things that we will be doing as far as learning activities. So there's going to be 2 short essay questions. You're only going to have 1 attempt to complete, yet it will not be timed. So you just have to answer both essay questions in 1 sitting. So be prepared to do that when you click on to quiz number 2. Now, you absolutely can have your textbook with you. I mean, you're at home, you're in the dorms, wherever you are, you can use your book. But I hope that you're reading exactly what has been assigned. It's interesting readings, and especially to get started, it's important to get the full readings done. So then we're going to integrate both mindfulness with a look at obesity in the adult. And there is a link to a website. It's the American Society of Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery. And as you read the information in this website, and there's a very brief video that's right in the beginning, think about how you would define obesity. To you, is obesity a chronic disease, or is it a chronic illness? And think about that for a minute, because in our first learning unit, we read pages 4 to 5, that the author very succinctly defined disease as referring to the pathophysiology of a condition. But in contrast, illness is the human experience of a disease and refers to how that human perceives the disease, lives with the disease, and responds to the disease, both individually and then along with their families, and how healthcare professionals too respond to the disease. We talked about Jen Bray and she shared her experience with ME/CFS. And we know that she definitely had her healthcare professionals perceived her experience slightly different, that there wasn't any test that could clearly define, yes, she had ME/CFS. So think about obesity and think about whether you see it as a disease or as an illness. So it's pretty clear what to read on the site. But definitely do the brief video and then look through the information. The next web link, just by clicking on, and you just click on right here, the next web link is the 2022 report, most recent report of America's Health Rankings. So if you click on the section that I have available to you, it'll take you to obesity in the United States. Please look through this as well. Let's open it up so we can see. So I click on and it's talking about obesity in the US, and it's sharing data, really specific as far as the percentage of adults with a BMI, body mass index, of 30 or higher. And that is the criteria for obesity. So, wow, it's a large number, is it not? And then there's going to be more in-depth information. Just click on if you want to see gender, the difference between men and women, obesity by state, and you're going to be looking at those states that have the higher number of percent of individuals that are obese and the lower. You're going to look at obesity trends, and you can see from 1990 into 2022, you can see the continuous increase in obesity. And then you're going to look at some additional, okay, who's got the lowest obesity rate, and that's Colorado. Who's got the highest obesity rate of 41%, West Virginia. You're going to know that this comes from the CDC, and they obtain the data by using this behavioral risk factor surveillance system. And what I want you to do too is to click on the plus signs here. Why does this matter? What is it about obesity that makes a difference to individuals, to communities, to our healthcare system? Who is affected? So please click on that one. What works, goals, etc. So that's the information you're going to look at for this site. It's an interesting site. So if you look here further down, you're going to see that there's similar data about cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. So you might want to keep the site for other classes and working on other aspects of health and healthcare. But for the purposes of this class, you're looking at this specific report. So you've gotten a little bit more information about obesity, and that's specific to data on that information. And now we're going to integrate it a little bit with mindfulness. So I'm challenging everyone to really be open to mindfulness, to develop mindfulness as a practice. We're going to really start to learn what's the difference between when we speak about mindfulness versus meditation, And this is just a brief article about what is mindfulness. Now, the text is going to do a great job, but I wanted to offer you another source. And then, what does mindfulness have to do with obesity? How about we start by reading about mindful eating 101? Because we're just starting off together for a mindful practice, some of you may already be very skilled and have spent a long period of time in doing mindfulness meditation. But I want you to all experience just a brief 5-minute guided meditation. It's just an audio and mindful breathing, and you can just click on right here. So the next thing that we're going to do, and let me just take a pause. There is mindfulness is going to be definitely a practice that we continue throughout this course. And it is a coping mechanism that we can help to develop our resilience and to allow ourselves to function in a very highly complex and stressful healthcare environment. So it is as important, if not more, some would say, as other things that you're learning about in your nursing courses. So I hope that you will understand the significance of it and the importance of it for nurses, and know that mindfulness, as defined by Jon Kabat-Zinn, is paying attention. Okay, we get that. On purpose. So sometimes it's hard to be on purpose because your mind wanders. In the present moment, you know how that goes. You're thinking about the past or the future. It's hard to be in the present for any length of time, but without judgment. Sometimes that's the most difficult for me, to not judge whether the experience is a positive or negative. The weather is nice or bad. It's raining, it's snowing. So again, Jon Kabat-Zinn defines mindfulness as paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. So the last thing you're going to be doing is your discussion board. And as you recall, discussion board postings are due by Thursday evening. And for this one, we've learned that that obesity decreases our quality of life, increases the risk of stroke, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, and some mental illness such as depression and anxiety. So for the discussion board post, what's a summary? Summarize what you perceive as the key findings of this week's learning activities, and also share how mindfulness impacts on weight loss, especially weight loss that persists over time. So have a great week, and I'm excited to have all of you. Next week, we're going to do a video discussion using a flip, and we're going to have some time to introduce ourselves, because I know we just started right off here without having a time to get to know one another. So we're going to see each other on flip, and it's also going to give us a chance to introduce ourselves. So have a great week. Any questions, please reach out. And I'm glad to have you all in this course.